confirm for us that we have a quorum for today's meeting, and we'll note the attendance for our minutes. Just want to remind everyone of some quick housekeeping rules. One, in order to make sure that everyone can follow the conversation and that we're not having background noise, I'd ask that everyone just please mute if you're not speaking. Secondly, it's always great to see you. I know we can't be in person to spend time together, but the next best thing is to actually see you all on camera. So to the extent that you're able to stay on camera, it helps with the engagement of the conversation and the flow of following the different discussion items. That would be great. Today's meeting is being recorded. You'll see the notice there, and we do, as normal practice, this aids in the development of our minutes for the meetings, and we also transcribe the recording and post it on our PCA Workforce Council site, so anyone can access it, including members of the public. Today we have a relatively brief agenda, but with some really important decision points that I think, and some updates. So we're going to do some formality and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. We will confirm the same cadence of our 2024 meeting schedule as we've been traditionally doing the fourth Tuesday. We will have updates from the subcommittee reports, including the training fund, labor management. A big update from the fiscal intermediary. I'm going to turn to Bill Halsey, who can talk a little bit about that. And we have guests who are attending as members of the public that will recognize during that agenda item the new fiscal intermediary to give some introductory comments. Brief introduction on our labor negotiations. Some discussion around membership, which I think is really important. And I think a lot of the committee members can be most helpful in trying to get us to full capacity. And then some formal other business, public comment, and motion to adjourn. So with that, I will turn to the first item, which is approval of our meeting minutes from July 25th, 2023. All of you should have received those in advance from Heather. Hopefully everyone had time to review. Is there a motion to approve such minutes?
So moved.
Great, thank you, Adam. The motion is moved by Adam. Do I have a second? Fran, I see you signaling as a second.
Yeah.
Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Any need for addition, changes to those meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for approve the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, so ordered. The meeting minutes are approved. Next item is just to confirm and vote on our meeting schedule for 2024. We have been, as past practice, meeting on the fourth Tuesdays on a quarterly basis from 9:30 to 11. Since most of us already have this time locked into our calendar, and it's been pretty good in terms of ensuring that we get quorum and participation, I would propose that we continue that cadence. Therefore, our dates would be January 23rd, April 23rd, July 23rd, and October 22nd. Can I have a motion to approve that meeting schedule?
This is Kathy, so moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bill Halsey, second. Thank you. Any discussion on those dates or questions about the meeting schedule? We would propose continuing to hold these via Teams so that it's encouraging to most people being able to join in. Any other questions or comments? If none, I'll ask for a voice vote to approve that schedule. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? We're such a collegial and consensus-driven group. Thank you. Next, we'll turn to our subcommittee reports. And for the first one on training fund, I'd like to turn to Bill Halsey for an update. Thanks.
Thanks, Claudia, and good morning, everyone. So we've been having, I think, productive meetings with the training fund. We committed to more frequent meetings with the training fund. So we've been trying to adhere to that. We're working on Amendment 8 for the training fund. And we're trying to get into a little bit, I would say, more kind of routine process related to tuition reimbursement. Last in last fiscal year, it was kind of a rush at the end of the fiscal year. So we're trying to avoid that this fiscal year and get some things pre-approved and a process and timing pre-approved so those payments can go out the door, I think, by say April within the fiscal year instead of say June within the fiscal year. So I think we're working well with the training fund. And again, right now, I don't see any major issues with the training fund. They're committed to the training, they're committed to the tuition reimbursement. I think we're mostly aligned on the kind of philosophy reimbursement. I'll just and I can get these data points, but the vast majority of the tuition reimbursement requests we felt did align with the core values of direct service. I think we may have denied. I'll get the data point, but it was a minority, and we had no appeals on those denials. And I think I've mentioned to this group some of those requests were things that we did not feel had anything to do with a PCA delivering services to a member. So it was good that we didn't get any appeals on those. So I think we're in a pretty good place related to the tough contract and trying to move Amendment 8 out the door within the next, I think, 30 days. Happy to take any questions.
Sounds like a very good update. Thank you for all that work, Bill. Appreciate it. It's good to see that in place because workforce development has been on tops of a lot of our minds. I think we can build out the services, but without a quality and robust workforce, that's always going to be a challenge. So sounds like the training fund dollars and that will be most helpful. Any thoughts, questions, reactions from council members? Great, seeing none, I will go to our next. Labor management is me, so I'll give an update on that subcommittee report. We have resumed the Labor Management Committee meetings. It is our hope to set up some regularly scheduled times. I think that we've gotten a little out of practice, so we haven't had these while we're in active collective bargaining negotiations, but seeing as those will continue to go forward, we thought it would be helpful to have an informal opportunity for both our side, the PCA Workforce Council, and the union to just talk and troubleshoot some operational items, to talk through about synergistic opportunities and just develop some sort of a rapport on how we share big goals for this program and for self-direction. And so we did initiate a meeting of labor management after a pretty extended hiatus, and now we will approve. I've sent some recommended times. We've checked. Heather was great enough to check with council members around labor management, and we have the availability that you shared with us. We put that to the union. I hope we can lock those in place. Two things that I will ask moving forward is that, one, given that we have a co-chair structure, it's always challenging to co-chair every single meeting. In the past and in legislative practice, when you have co-chairs, you tend to alternate who takes lead in just being the moderator and the facilitator for a meeting. I have suggested that we do that and we go back and forth where one time it's the PCA Workforce Council chairing and actually formally running the meeting, and the alternative times being the union. We've also asked that in the spirit of making sure that we have the right people and that we're prepared and that we're making the meetings as productive as possible, that we adhere to the CBA practice of formalizing the agenda items at least 7 days in advance. That will give our team and their team a chance to make sure that the right people are able to attend and kind of tighten up the conversation so that it's most productive, rather than a lot of takebacks and a lot of just conceptual conversation. I will keep the team posted, and certainly labor management will get the meeting holds once we lock those in with SEIU. That's my update. Any questions? All right, so then that brings us to agenda item number 5, which is an update on the fiscal intermediary and the transition. And for that, I'll turn again to Bill.
All right. Well, a lot going on in this space right now, and certainly welcome Denise to jump in whenever she wants. Okay. So I also want to introduce Rob Lewis from GT Independence. So we, well, there's lots of fronts going on. We're working on a letter that we're trying to get out the door, hopefully next week, I think, on kind of a formal banner announcement of the transition to employees of records and PCAs. We have feedback from a small cohort of employee of records, and we're trying to be better about engaging members and PCAs in this process. So I met with a group of PCAs yesterday with the union and worked through the letter, got some feedback from them that we'll try to incorporate into the letter that will go out to PCAs. I think and hope that they were, that they like that opportunity to weigh into the letter that they'll receive. I will say at least from my perspective, and I'm getting help on this from staff at DSS because I can't attend all the meetings. I have felt so far that GT Independence has come well prepared to transition over to GT Independence. And it is a massive project. And, it might keep me up at night sometimes, but I'm hopeful that it's going to go well. We are actually going to start a small transition process in December. And so happy to turn it over to Rob to explain kind of what that process is. And in the spirit of trying to engage members and PCAs in this, we have a pilot group that will also be coming over as kind of the beta testers of all the GTI, apps and systems and things like that. So Rob, if you want to introduce yourself and maybe talk about the transition that will take place in the December, and then maybe the larger one and what that might look like.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bill. So happy to be here. My name's Rob Lewis. I'm GT's National Director of Business Development. We're so very excited to finally start the transition process. So like Bill said, we do have a pilot program in December of approximately 50 people or so that we can kind of ensure that all of our data connections are correct, make sure that as budgets and authorizations are sent to us, we're able to kind of connect that easily within our system and kind of work out the kinks there. Now, ideally, there's no kinks to be worked out because there's going to be a ton of testing that's done prior to December to ensure that there's no issues. But if there is any issues, we're able to kind of fix that on a very low scale. In addition to that pilot program, new referrals will begin in December as well. The reason for that is so that individuals don't have to onboard with one FI and then within a couple of months transition over to a brand new FI. So starting in December, we'll take on those new referrals and be able to kind of see that process through. And then when it comes to the large transition, that large transition is at least slated right now and in our mind in stone as March 24th of 24. And we'll do that through a 3-month transition process where we're offering individuals multiple ways to be able to be enrolled in our services. They're going to be redoing all of the same paperwork that they had to do with their current FI, but this is just allowing GT Independence to have that authority to be able to communicate to the state and federal governments on their behalf. Our primary goal here during the transition is no interruptions to services and no delay in payroll. Over the last 18 months, we've transitioned about 6 different programs, not necessarily of this size, but totaling about the size of this program. So about 22,000 people over the last 2 years that we've transitioned. And our goal is to remove the barriers to self-direction. And I think what you and the constituents will see is through the technology that we offer, it's very intuitive. easy to use, and happy to provide that information at either the town hall meetings or webinars to really ensure that individuals are ready to go when this transition happens. And then we want to be that collaborative partner with the different departments as well as any other stakeholders. So you'll see us being very engaged in conversations and how you guys want the self-directed programs to operate and what data you need from us to be able to ensure that you have all the information at your fingertips. So I'll stop there. Bill or Denise, anything else that you want me to go into a little bit more detail on?
I will just mention, it looks like Denise wants to mention something, that GTI has agreed to come into some of our public meetings. So we're going to have the LTSS steering committee meeting. We're going to have the CFC meeting. We would be recommending the November MAPOC meeting, because if we're going to start transitioning in December, I'd kind of like to give MAPOC a heads up that we're going to start that. They've also agreed to do a meet and greet with the PCA volunteers that are beta testers. So they're willing to do that. We haven't scheduled that yet, but you will probably start to see them in those public meetings and speaking about, we've invited them to speak, who they are, where else they occupy this space, kind of their values and their goals related to self-directed care, and just to help people become more familiar with GTI. Go ahead, Denise.
Have to find my mute button. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention for the council, for the folks who the workman's compensation piece that had been the policies that were purchased under the former FIs will be taken over by GT Independence. So any of the new folks being onboarded that are self-directing in December will have policies purchased on their behalf through GT Independence. And then as the transition goes on, we're going to need to look at the policy renewals for those folks because the policies end December 31st. So I just wanted to let folks know we are thinking about those detailed pieces that go along with the transition so that folks don't fall within the cracks. And also, I'm really excited about their EVV system, and I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth, but here they are. So one of our EVV contacts, Kristen Callahan in DDS, has received the opportunity to kind of get involved in kind of work on that system, the app, and I'm looking forward to personally getting it, in there. I have currently I have administrative access to the EVV system through our department. And from what I understand, it's going to be a world of difference in terms of user functionality. I think we are not going to have as much of an issue with folks transitioning over. So I'm looking forward to all of those pieces, plus the portal. Another piece, I mean, I hate to talk about all your services, Rob, but I do want to brag a bit. One of the biggest things I think in our department is around lack of communication and folks' comprehension about, systems or changes on their portal. There's ability for both EORs and for PCAs to access the newest, latest, and greatest information. So any information that we would like to be shared or updated documents or forms or materials, we can work with GT Independence and having those stuff at folks' fingertips. So I think that's really going to be helpful as we move forward with not only the transition, but just sustainability of SD program altogether. All right, I think that's it.
Well, I'll say, Rob, we're appreciative that you're on board and taking this challenge. I think it speaks well, one, because I trust immensely both Denise and Bill. And when they reported back to the OPM team that they were excited, they were interested, they really did their due diligence, they felt like you were going to change the trajectory of a program. A lot of people here on this council have worked tirelessly to create the CFC program, grow the CFC program. I know Fran Sinish and Kathy Flaherty, certainly in Connecticut, were at the forefront when AARP and several individuals in the disability community stood up to fight for this entitlement as a matter of home and community-based options. Adam has worked in this not only in Connecticut, but also brings experience from New York and has talked about it. Peg, from her personal experience and knowing what it's like to be a consumer or family caregiver and seeing it firsthand. You have people here deeply invested, and we want to hold out our hand to you in partnership and that you are as successful as possible, because your success will make all our jobs a lot easier. It will also make the relationship management with the workers and the consumer employers that much more productive. So I'm encouraged, I'm hopeful, I'm eager, and we'll try to join MAPOC on that meeting when you dig more into your services. But I think you hit on the highlights. I mean, payment and being able to process payment quickly and timely is one that the legislature cares a lot about, the council, the administration cares a lot about, as does the union and the employee and the consumer employers. I think the other thing is we heard about just long wait times, and that's a constant point of frustration. Anyone who's been on hold for 20, 30 minutes, hour knows what that's like, and that's going to be a consumer experience you don't quickly just forget. So I think you're attentive to the two major pain points, and I'm so excited to hear more about the service arrays and integrate you into the Connecticut program.
Well, thank you all so much for allowing us to come here, and thank you for all your work that you've done in Connecticut. The program there speaks for itself with the amount of people that are self-directing and the growth and the belief that you have in the program. And we hope to come alongside that and assist you. So thank you, everyone.
I also just want to say, you know, we've tried to be honest with GTI and leadership that we have a lot of work to do in terms of building up our trust bank account with the union, you know. So I don't know if people know this, but there was a payment issue on Friday that happened. Direct deposits didn't happen, and they were delayed for 8 hours. So it's still rough. It's still rough, and people are really having difficulty not getting paid. And you know, they make commitments based on those payments and that money being in their bank account Friday morning. And I'm sure people are going to be paying fees on those dollars that were not in the account. So, you know, we've tried to be truthful and honest and transparent with GTI that we've got a lot of work to do in this space.
Melissa, your hand's up.
Sure. Thanks, Claudio. Very quick question, and this might be for Bill and Denise, I think, first. So I know that currently payroll goes through People's Bank with the FI. Will that continue? Will we still be using People's, or does the bank change as well once we switch to GTI? Because I know some of the payment issues also stem from People's Bank themselves not getting the direct deposits into the accounts before 5 o'clock, and they fall back on bank law about the amount of time they have for those transactions. So just curious.
I don't actually know the answer to that, Melissa. We can, unless Rob, unless you know, or Denise.
Rob, I don't believe we're going to continue to use People's. I believe that Holly mentioned another bank that you guys utilize currently with your business practices.
We currently utilize Key Bank, which is one of the national banking institutions. We also have an option for a payroll debit card, which is actually in scenarios where there happens to be an issue with payroll, individuals who have that payroll debit card, we can instantaneously load their payroll funds as opposed to having to wait, you know, the full banking day to do that. So if someone noticed that, you know, 9:05 a.m. on a Friday payday that they didn't receive all their funds or any of their funds, and they contact us if they've got the debit card, we're able to fix the issue, load the transaction right away without any of those wire fees or anything that might be associated with that. Now, obviously, if they had debits coming out of their account on Friday, they may still have those fees. But if it's a GT error, we always reimburse those fees as well. So we're happy to do that for our error because they shouldn't have to incur those penalties or fees due to an error that we may have made.
That is great to hear.
Any other questions from council members? All right, seeing none, we can move to the next item, which is an update on labor negotiations. I'll be very brief and just lay out some of the factual points here. We don't yet have a successor contract. We've been working to put forward a fair proposal that addresses both the needs of consumer employers and the PCAs. Obviously, our North Star in all this is to honor self-direction and the unique importance that Medicaid program brings to our Medicaid consumer employers. We certainly have policy goals when it comes to expanding options and more choices for home and community-based setting, and quality is always a cross-cutting issue that's going to impact a lot of the ideas and policies that we put forward, including at the bargaining table. To just reiterate, state law does provide for a continuity of services. So though we have a lapse in the collective bargaining agreement, we now have a continuing agreement in place. There won't be any anticipated strikes or anything like that, which would potentially be disruptive to our Medicaid consumer employers. Also, per the stipulated agreement and per policy changes we made in the last collective bargaining agreement, those training fund dollars to support mandatory orientation training will continue to flow. So those will automatically be refreshed, and there's a new pot of money that supports those mandatory trainings so that we can continue to onboard new PCAs and serve our consumer employers. I will also say the reality, which many of you may start to be familiar with, but certainly as we enter the next legislative session, you'll hear lots more about, and that's that we are in a midterm budget adjustment year. You know, we typically adopt a 2-year biennial budget. We're in the second year. The budget is meant to be already be in place, a framework. So we look to make adjustments, not wholesale changes to the budget. And there is a very tight cap issue that we're facing. So about 12 million, a little less than, rather 11 million, a little less than that even by some of the latest projections we have to spend out of the entire $26 billion budget. So you can tell we're working with very thin margin on what we're allowed constitutionally to spend. The legislature last session also reaffirmed a commitment to fiscal guardrails. So not only do we have a constitutional spending cap and a statutory spending cap, but they basically reinforced those commitments to good fiscal discipline in our bond covenants to bondholders. So when we go out to get bonds or get financing, a commitment is built into each of those that we will maintain the fiscal guardrails and the constitutional spending caps and requirements. That has boded well for Connecticut in terms of paying down long-term obligations, but it does create pressures in short term where it looks like we have short-term surpluses, even though we have out-year significant deficits and liabilities with pension and retiree costs. So we're going to have to manage those expectations. I expect this to be a challenging session, but we intend to put forward whatever is a reasonable package, and we'll see where we go with this PCA thing in terms of everything else that has to be traded off in the budget. Any quick questions on that? All right. Membership. We, as Heather noted, we are still down 3 positions on the council. We'd love to get to a full complement of council members. I think every one of our members brings so much value in terms of lived experiences, operational experiences, and it certainly helps us as we build a strong program to have a full complement of members. I want to talk through specifically who we have vacancies from, so what the appointing authorities are that still have appointments to make, and what is the categorical requirements for each of those appointments. And then I'll entertain a brief brainstorming now if anyone has names, but I would also ask that if everyone could take back a homework assignment and consider if they have anyone in their professional circles, their social circles, or their other contacts that may be good candidates, and to recommend those and send those to Heather so she can collect those. Also, if you have some sort of relationship with, you live in the majority leaders district, or you have a contact with any of these legislators and would be willing to just make a soft touch outreach to them, letting them know how important the council is and that we'd be eager to have an appointment from them, please let us know that too. I'm not asking anyone to go ahead and make that outreach now. I think we need to be strategic on how we do it. And I always like to plan that outreach when we have a candidate in hand who's vetted for them to execute on. But I'd ask for that homework assignment of all council members. One, if you have candidates who could be good council members that fit these categorical requirements, or two, if you know the appointing authorities or have some sort of informal relationship with them, you'd be willing to help bring this up to the top of their priority list so that we can get an appointment in place. So with that, we have an appointment from the House Majority Leader. So Representative Jason Rojas has an open appointment to a member of an organization representing the interests of the elderly consumers. So Fran, I know you have the complementary one in the Senate that fits this category, but there's a second representative that we can take on for individuals looking at the interests of seniors, older adults. So to the extent that maybe AARP or some of the volunteers on board work that AARP has, maybe they could be helpful at identifying candidates, that would be really great. The second open appointment is from the President Pro Tem of the Senate. So the President Pro Tem being Senator Looney from New Haven has an open appointment for a member of an organization representing the interests of consumers with physical disabilities. So here, if our colleagues, if Kathy or Adam, Peg, to the extent that you could identify anyone or certain groups, organizations that may be able to provide a name, that would be excellent. The last is a pending appointment. So Senate Majority Leader Bob Duff has been engaged, and we've traded some communications with him. We've put forward a potential name of an individual who we think could meet the requirements that he has, which is someone representing the interests of consumers with developmental disabilities. So we've pre-vetted an individual and put forward a resume for his consideration. We're just waiting for his consideration of whether he wants to go with that individual or someone else. Denise, if we hear back and that doesn't materialize, maybe we can come up with a couple backup options there. I'll pause to see if there's any questions or instant ideas. If anyone has just some incredible ideas now on who and how to approach these vacancies, I'll take those now. If not, I'll invite everyone to send recommendations and volunteer assignments to Heather.
Claudia, you mentioned AARP. What about Anna
Yeah.
Duragazi?
Well, Adam could help communicate that message too. Certainly, I know she's on the CFC Council and has been an active member
knows the
of
space,
long-term care.
right?
Yeah, and so that might be a good option. Fran or Adam, maybe you take that back, put a little. Huh?
I can talk to her about it.
Don't tell her whose idea it was.
Fair.
Great idea. I also would think, maybe the area agencies on aging or one of the access agencies could be good, because so much of this is just operational and helping to see where people are and where they need options and where CFC can fit into that. I don't know if folks know people at the area agencies on aging, maybe Maureen McIntyre or down in Southwest. We can also try to contact them. Yeah, Fran. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. When you say SWACA,
Yeah.
are you talking about a specific person or just somebody from that agency?
Well, I think that's an organization that could be representing the interests of older consumers, because they do a lot of the counseling and benefits outreach and things like that. So Marie Allen or others, whoever's there, could be a good candidate.
Because I'm on the advisory council of SWACA. I can talk to Marie. I have a thought about somebody who was the chair of the advisory council who is now off. So I'm gonna check with her before I give a name.
Yes, we did have the good benefit of having someone who was affiliated with SWACA on this council, and she sort of turned off after a while, and so she may have, decided to move on, but maybe there's others. I mean, at that point, when we tried to replace her, they didn't instantly have a name for replacement, but maybe you can continue to socialize, and maybe they can bring it up to the association so that they, as a voice, can just share it across all the area agencies on aging would be good. All right. So that's our membership status update. I'll also say that I know that we had anticipated potentially moving the bylaws and finalizing our welcome packet. Work is still underway on that. Thank you. There were 2 members of our council who provided great testimonial. We were able to wrap those into our welcome packet with the letter. If other council members have not sent in sort of why they like doing the work of the PCA Workforce Council and what type of impact they're making, any of those personal notes that we can quote you on and put in as part of our orientation and new member training materials would be great. So you can still have an opportunity to do that. Heather's still collecting a few more. I think we have space for a couple more if anyone's interested. And we will, it's on my backlog of things is just to reread one more time the bylaws. I think, Kathy, we may have had an open item with you that we were just trying to close the loop on. So it is my expectation and hope that we can still move those at our next meeting. I didn't want to lose sight of the fact that that's still on our radar and we're trudging ahead. And I think doing that in simultaneous fashion with the orientation packet and the welcome letter would be nice. Okay, next item is other business. Is there any other business that the council members wish to raise or flag for future agenda items? Seeing none. I know Denise was pensive for a second, so I waited, but I think she passed on that opportunity.
I did pass. I was
okay.
thinking there's got to be something I have to say, but no.
Okay. Sounds good. And then I will pause for recognition of public comment. Item number 9 on our agenda. We have only one member of the public who I see joining us today, Rob, who already had a chance to give us some of his feedback and thoughts during the FI update. I don't know if Rob, you have anything else to add, or Heather, if I missed anyone.
No, I just double
right?
checked to see if there's anybody on the phone, and it looks like you're correct that Rob is the only member of the public present.
All right. So
Now's your chance, Rob.
We'll be here for a long time to come. So, I just wanted to give you kind of that brief update and talk about the transition. So, but if there are any questions down the road, you'll have all of our contact information. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you. Last item is a motion for adjournment. So can I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? The time is 10:11.
So moved.
Adam, motion. Second?
I'll second.
Bill?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.